Okay, this is Mike at Congresswoman Susan Davis's office calling me back. April 25th at 10 to 2.
Just calling you back from our conversation earlier today.
Hi, thank you, Mike. Same rules.
So it looks like I called the National Credit Union Association, which is, the government entity that oversees credit unions in the United States.
Yes, sir.
Navy Federal is a private company. They are not tied to the government any more than any other bank is.
Okay, but they're dictating the guidelines are from the government.
Right, but what that one person said, I can't vouch for, but when I spoke to NC, when it was the National Credit Union Association, they told me that they oversee how the credit unions do their investments.
Okay.
But they do not issue guidelines on who does or does not qualify for a refinance. Like I said, that's an investment decision. So our role in this is not at all. Maybe Federal was not involved with the modification thing, so if they want to refinance your mortgage, they will do it. But I don't.
But I'm still operating under the same federal guidelines because those are the terms they're using. Federal guidelines say that my debt-to-income ratio, I've been making this payment $1,500 higher. If they lower it, why wouldn't I be able to make the payment? That's where the common sense part is kind of missing on this stuff. If they have a good investment, why not stick with it?
Well, why not find out why that person who told you that you qualified,
She wouldn't
said that?
She wouldn't give me her name. I asked. She said, no, there's just a note from her, but I don't know who she is. That's kind of doesn't make sense either. She can't track down the woman that helped me.
Right. No, I know it's frustrating, and refinancing can be frustrating, but
I think I have that recording, except it has all my personal data in it. Mike, if you would like to see it. I don't know how to get it from where it's at to you so you can hear it, but I could play it to you over the phone.
really doesn't merit our intervention, especially after talking to the National Credit Union Association. You're going to have to find out from Navy Federal if, in fact, your debt-to-income ratio is too high.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't tell. I'm not the one who's going to issue, or originate a mortgage for you.
No, but can't you tell them because of what Bank of America is doing, because they are comfortable going on the news and telling everyone that they're forging documents and shredding them, because Bank of America is as big as they are, I'm going to roll over on Navy Federal unless the government or whoever controls federal guidelines does a slight adjustment for the realistic customer who pays his bills on time and has good credit. You can't sweep me under the carpet because I've been doing everything right. The news media is forging documents. The news media is losing things. Not the news media, the banks. Why can't someone step up for me when I've been on time with all my bills? That's why I need your help.
And we did, and we got a trial modification with Bank of America, which you didn't want, which it's your decision, but we did try to intervene, and it took longer than you wanted it to take, but it happened.
No, it's not the timeline. It's that there's nothing in writing, and when I did get it, you're supposed to be knowing this stuff too. Surprise, the money you get at the beginning goes on the end. I've asked you question after question. You still don't know the details of the loan.
And yet, I thought Mike told me that he helped develop this program.
Told me year 1 through 5 is adjustable. Year 5 through 7 is another adjustable. To pin them down to anything, Congresswoman Susan Davis is just as guilty for having the knowledge of what Bank of America is doing and not doing anything about it. No, we found out after the paperwork was in my lap. If they would have told me this 14 months ago, I would have never wasted anyone's time. But since I did, and I have all these recordings, I'm not going to go away. I need some help. What can Congresswoman Susan Davis do next?
What we did was help you with the modification, and that's what we're here to do, because the Making Home Affordable program, this refinance issue, is separate. Because
she touched on the bank stealing and shredding documents. Has she brought that up to someone? Are they working on it? Why doesn't the public have a right to know what's going on? We know they're forging documents. They put that on the news. Why leave us in the dark?
They are aware that it's not being dealt with very quickly, I don't think, but I do think that it has. People are aware of it. There have been hearings in the House Finance Committee. It's just something that's being dealt with.
So are we in full collapse? Should I sell my house now while I can walk away with $20,000 rather than standing here in the dark, having things fall apart more, lose another $200,000, and then everyone just be in total chaos? I mean, why can't they give us enough information to make healthy business decisions? They're doing it for themselves. You guys are aware of what they're doing. Conveying that to the customer is a different story.
Well, you did get the information you needed, though. The information came out, yes, it was after you qualified, but if, you know.
No, it was after you got it out of the trash can and had the loan miraculously reappear because the Hope team told them they were in violation of federal guidelines. It's all taped. My mind is like a steel trap when it comes to that because I go back and listen to the whole process. And there's a lot of violations along the way. And Congresswoman Susan Davis was aware of it. And she feels like, oh, I got you your paperwork. That didn't finish the job. They're still stealing, allegedly, and they're still giving customers bunk loans.
But I'm trying to get you to focus on your specific situation.
Why didn't I get the information 14 months ago before I even started this tragedy? Because I wouldn't have wasted anyone's time. Yes. What do you think? Like the last 6 months, I've been begging them, send me something in writing so I know what I'm stepping into. We can't do that. Federal guidelines don't allow it. Federal guidelines are laws. I call you, you say federal guidelines are not laws. They're lying. They're pointing the finger at the government. And if I'm listening to Bank of America from their recordings that I have, Susan Davis is not doing her job correctly according to them. Because these are federal guidelines.
Right, like I said, the Making Home Affordable Guidelines, it's a voluntary program, so they are guidelines.
Oh, so what does voluntary mean? You can burn people, they can choose? How do they know if it's voluntary when they don't know what they're stepping into? I mean, you have people with family and kids that are 6, 8 months behind, and you hand them a piece of paper saying you're going to save money, but boom, surprise, it's adjustable, but we can't tell you how yet until you actually sign your paperwork. What kind of setup is that, allegedly? Is that fair to anyone?
But you can't, I mean, you're not really listening to what I'm saying. You do know that if between the 8th and the 10th, or sorry, between the 6th and the 8th year, it can vary up to 2% with a cap on what the interest rate is on the day that the modification is issued. You can't know what the highest extreme will be because you can add what the market rate interest rate is.
I did that twice. I did it with 2 different people, and one guaranteed me it would not go over 6.25, and the other one said, oh yes, it can. Who do I believe? No one will put anything in writing. I'm not going to do a business venture where they don't even know the solution to their own problem they're creating. It doesn't make sense. I'm trying to be the voice of the person that doesn't have a choice when this paperwork comes. And they sign on the dotted line because they're going to be on the street. They should be given this information before they start and not, oh, check online. I can check online and read the whole thing and still not understand it. Call Bank of America. I asked the woman at Bank of America, give me the top 10 dangers I have to watch out for with this loan. She couldn't get past number 1, and I had to give her that. No one's informed. You guys are handing out these loans. They're dangerous.
No, I understand the issues. I don't think that it's a perfect program. I think it's quite far from perfect. But what I'm trying to do is focus on your specific situation.
Thank you. And there's nothing else Congresswoman Susan Davis can do as far as Navy Federal, in regards to Navy Federal stating federal guidelines state, because you are at 90%, we can't qualify you. Why is it then the day before the woman said she got me down to 43%? Someone is lying somewhere. Please help.
Right, so you need to work with Navy Federal about the refinance.
Yes, and I could use your help.
I can't. I cannot help you. It's a private entity. They're not responsible for your first mortgage.
And they respond to the credit union that you called? That's who they answer to?
No, I didn't call a credit union. I called the National, what's the name of it? The National Credit Union Association, who oversees all credit unions in the United States.
And who is overseeing their behavior? And who sets up the federal guidelines? Isn't that the federal government?
Just because they blame it on the federal guidelines, as we saw with Bank of America, doesn't necessarily mean that that's where the information.
I'm telling you though, I have it recorded. I'm conveying it to you that it's government. I'm also asking for help here, and that's why everything's taped. So when it does go to court, they can ask you, Michael McLaughlin, why didn't you proceed when you know he's being ripped off and he needs it. I need help. I really do.
I can't intervene, Navy Federal.
Who can? Can you send them something and maybe send me a carbon copy of what you send them just so I can say, okay, we'll move on to the next chapter? I need someone that can hold them accountable. They're blaming you, and you're saying you guys have nothing to do with it. Is that true? They're saying federal guidelines dictate that it cannot be at this certain percentage. They're saying it's you guys. You're federal.
Well, you talk to them and find out what the guideline is, where it's coming from, and what you can do to lower your debt-to-income ratio if that's what needs to be done. You said that there was someone there.
Okay, you're missing my point. The banks are stealing, they're shredding documents, they're falsifying documents.
But we're talking about Navy.
Yeah.
Navy Federal now. We're not talking about Bank of America.
These are federal guidelines that you guys are helping to set up, aren't you? Don't you help set up federal guidelines?
Yeah, but that's such a broad word. I really don't know what.
That's why I'm asking you to research it. I'm asking you to research it with Bank of America or Navy Federal. I need someone to just step in and say, hey, is there anything we can do to make this go along a little faster? Then if you look at the numbers, they're saving me $1,500 a month. My car payment's going away. It doesn't make sense. They're blaming federal guidelines. That's what I would like you to look into. Please, can you think about it for a day?
Your debt-to-income ratio is 90%. That's got nothing to do with federal guidelines. That's a number.
That's what they're setting out. That's what they're stating. That's what I have on tape. And why is it the day before I have a woman saying she got me down to 43%?
I mean, I agree. That is curious that it would change, that it would almost double.
Yeah.
But that's something you need to take up with Navy Federal.
I've been trying. I've asked them to do this loan 4 or 5 times over the last 3 years, and the numbers just don't add up right, or this or that. I had it down right, and then all of a sudden the next day they changed it according to federal guidelines. That's why I was hoping that someone could just say, hey, I know you've got this loan. Please look at it carefully. He's never been late. They even sent me a letter through your loan process. Your excellent service as a customer for 10 years doesn't count. Well, how do they expect the economy to stimulate itself if no one's going to lend any money to anyone? I've never been late on my bills. And they're saying it's the federal guidelines. What do I do with that? How do I translate that into something positive? It's the federal guidelines.
Well, that's not, I agree, that's no information to work on. We don't know what the rule is. We don't know what the specific parameters are about this federal guideline. You need to know more. You need to find out what the rule is and how you can conform to whatever rule it is they want you to follow so that you can refinance.
Can you speak on my behalf and tell them if they can't do this, save the customer $1,500, get a loan out of the toilet from Bank of America? I'm going to roll over on Navy Federal and first I'm going to buy something, then I'm going to foreclose on my second and my credit card on Bank of America or Navy Federal because of Bank of America. And since we started with Bank of America, why can't you explain to them a little bit about what's going on and how this would be a positive thing? I need you to represent me since they won't let me go to their building and articulate what my needs are and how I could help them.
I can refer you to community housing works, but I'm not a credit counselor. I can't go every step of the way. The reason that I intervened with the modification is because that's the Making Home Affordable program. That is a federal program that we worked on. It is imperfect, but it's our job to see those things through.
So you created that modification program?
Making Home Affordable program?
Yes.
Yeah. It rolled out.
Voila! It rolled out all right. Keep going,
So it was
Mike.
approved by everybody, right? But why? How come no one knows what's in it until it shows up on your doorstep? Why is that secrecy there? Everyone is protecting the big banks and the news media. Why is it I have 5 news channels that refuse to do this story? And
it's makinghomeaffordable.gov. All of the directives are there. I told you after the meeting all the specifics of how the program works and how it's changed over the last couple of years to address issues that have come up.
then how come when I asked you what the simple basic rules of my loan are, you couldn't even explain it to me? As well as Bank of America couldn't explain it to me.
But so what you're not understanding, so Bank of America modifies your loan ultimately. There is the Making Home Affordable program, which incentivizes modification, so it has general rules for how modifications should be done. The banks...
General rules. I believe that's federal guidelines, which Mike just stated that he helped create.
You follow them or not. The reason I needed to see your paperwork was because I needed to see what the specific terms were of your mortgage.
You just said the banks to follow them or not. Basically, you're saying whoever holds the note can sit there. We went back to this conversation a while ago. If he's going to make more money on a foreclosure on me, he's going to burn the customer because of his own personal gain. Is that correct? And the federal government is aware of this, correct? That's all I need.
So
the federal government is aware, correct? That these decisions are being made by the investors who can burn the customer at any whim because they can make more money by having it go to foreclosure. You just said yes. And the government is aware, correct?
No, you're not letting me complete my thoughts.
No, because you're not hearing me as a person. We're being stepped on our heads, and the government is aware of it, and you're trying to back out of this, saying this is not...
I'm not that chaotic today. I was extremely stressed. And I'm hearing what he's saying better, but it's still, he won't answer the questions.
part of my modification. Well, guess what? It's the banking system and the federal guidelines. So I need you to work on this, get a hold of it with Susan Davis. If you need me to come sit down, we can brainstorm together, but I need a phone call back in a day or two, please, because I will not stop. I will go out with my cameras again. I will hound down every news reporter and make everyone's life miserable until we get some truth. You're not dismissing me, I'm sorry. I can't. Too many people are being burned. Everyone's fighting for, let's get some clarity or visibility. There's no visibility in banking. 14 months and I couldn't get a fax number to hold someone accountable that was holding my paperwork. I begged month after month. I said, my numbers have changed. Can I please fax something in so we have it documented correctly when my paperwork gets here? Boom, $6,400. Boom, at the end of the loan. Oh, because your income's not taxable, we bump it up 1.25%. Why isn't the customer informed? And you guys are aware of what you're doing. So Congresswoman Susan Davis's office is just as much to blame as the federal government.
And she wrote the program, or Mike helped with it.
She's co-signing it. So can you please get with her and then get back to me in a day or two?
Well, I'm not sure what's going to happen, but
Okay.
I'm taking notes on our conversation, so have a good day.
And you'll get in touch with Congresswoman Susan Davis and get her response back to me?
I'm working on your case.
I need a response from Congresswoman Susan Davis on what we just touched on, about the theft and the non-disclosure and the lack of professionalism. She's aware that all of this is going on, and I need a response from her. If not, I will walk to every newspaper stand I can find and sell the story to someone that the government is sitting on their backsides and not caring. You can't let them steal from us and not protect the consumer. You cannot. It's your job.
Oh, I understand your concerns, and
All right, okay, so just get me a response from Susan Davis. Is that okay? I need her to hear what she says about all this. The stealing the documents and why isn't something being done. You'll get that to her?
you'd like a written response.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll see what we can do about that.
Okay, with her signature, please.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, you too.
April 25th, 10 minutes to 2. Mike lied to me again. But you know what? He is a sweetheart. He is helping. He's been very patient, unlike some other people in their office, which I just stumbled upon. Mike, yeah, where's that letter? I need a loan, and let's go to court.